Hello, beautiful ladies. It's Emily Eldridge. I am the host of this show, Inner Work for Greater Good, where we learn inner work that accelerates your power to feel good and do good, to really make a difference in the world in whatever ways call to you. As always, I am so happy that you're here, and you're welcome to come to the website anytime in our community, changelight.world, where our community is at community.changelight.world, and that's where you can learn all about our courses and learn even more amazing things about this inner work that can accelerate your ability to make a difference. Today, I want to talk about disentangling your energy from others. The reason why this comes up for me as an important topic is because I just spent the last few days doing Reiki level 1 with actually the woman who's also my shamanic healer. And I have done pranic healing before, I've done energy healing, but I've never done Reiki. And the way this woman teaches it, she's amazing. I can give you her information if you want to contact me. But the way she teaches it, she talks a lot, and this is also one of her specialties. She talks a lot about boundaries and making sure that we maintain our boundaries with other people in life in general. And of course, as well, when it comes to spiritual and healing work, is that boundaries are absolutely key. Now, I often talk about the importance of that healthy relationships require healthy boundaries. And it's completely true. But I kind of woke up giggling this morning a little bit because it really occurred to me also another reason why I thought, no wonder this is like so important. And I haven't asked her about this, but I was just thinking this, that when it comes to being a shamanic healer and shamanic work, now I am not a shamanic healer. There are a lot of wonderful healers out there. Mine is fantastic. That the shamanic work is all about basically like in my experience, the shamanic healer will go into sort of other realms and retrieve soul pieces that have been taken, whether in this lifetime or past lifetimes by others. Or maybe we've taken pieces from other people. Sometimes we're corded to people energetically in an unhealthy way. There are all kinds of things that happen energetically as well as emotionally. A lot of times we talk about this emotional things like this, but it's also energetic. And emotions are energy as well. And so the point is what happens, I was kind of giggling because I thought, well, no wonder this is so important to her, because she basically spends her professional life having to like disentangle people's energies from others. That's one part of it. With like shamanic healing, it's having to like go into other realms and like get this person's pieces back and give back pieces and basically like disentangle, if you will, their energies from others. It's one big part of it. And in terms of my work, what I'm often doing is defragmenting as well. And you could say she's defragmenting. I'm mostly defragmenting like emotionally and mentally and internally, usually within this lifetime. Sometimes my work ends up, we talk about past lifetimes. Some past lifetimes have come up in some of my work. But my point is that it's like, so she's always like, you really have, this is about you, focus on you, keep your energy to yourself, basically, like you've got to do what's right for you. And a lot of times that can be interpreted as, that's selfish or self-centered, but it's not. And from her perspective, I would say if she were here, my perspective as healers and as people who we're like, this is what we're doing, is we're having to defragment people, we're having to bring them back to wholeness. Sometimes having to disentangle their energies from other people and having to basically bring them back to wholeness and clarity and peace within themselves. And so it's just, I don't know. It just made me laugh. I'm like, of course, because that's what she's always doing. And that's sometimes what I'm doing. But it really made me think about the importance of it. Just really want to drive this point home of how important it is that you stay sovereign, that we all stay sovereign, that we own our own energy, we own our own power. We don't give our power away to others, even if it's well-intended. And this is oftentimes what happens. We can give our power over to others perfectly well-intended because we care about them, because we want to make a difference in their lives, because we want them to feel good. And yet what happens though is when you're giving your power away, you're giving your power away. And you only have so much energy and power. I get it. I know you could say we're these huge beings and infinite and all of that. But the reality is that we don't have unlimited sources of energy and power to give. We just don't. I mean, go ahead, try, go for it. In my experience, we really don't. Even if we're channeling and all that kind of stuff, there is a physical reality that we live in here. And so we have to be very mindful and caring of, this physical reality that we're in, and of our own energy and of our own power. Because what happens is that even from good intentions, when we're helping others or supporting others or being there for others, or even like being angry at them or trying to control them, or we're worried about them, or there are all kinds of reasons, especially emotional reasons, but a lot of reasons why we can tend to end up getting entangled with other people's energies. And maybe we might try to control them and then they get entangled with us and we end up in this power struggle. And it's not healthy for anyone when our energies get tangled up in others, or theirs get tangled up in us. And so this is a huge, huge, huge topic. But I just want to pose a few questions that will start to get you thinking about, well, am I a bit too entangled or enmeshed with this person or these people? Am I giving too much of my power over? Is that person taking energetic, energy or energetic pieces from me? I mean, and sometimes like with the shamanic work, it's other lifetimes. It's not necessarily this lifetime, but sometimes in this lifetime, we can do that with others. And we literally allow other people, or it's not allow. I mean, sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes someone has really hurt us and a piece has been taken from us. Again, that's not my expertise. But the point is that because of the way human relationships just go and how they can be so fraught, or because of circumstances we experience or grow up in, because of traumas we endure, whether they're human, caused, or maybe they're weather caused, maybe they're like natural disasters, these can really kind of mess up our own energy and cause us to become fragmented and entangled. And so sometimes that's just the reality of living with other humans and on this, in this world where we have these issues. But the problem is then what happens is then we feel less whole. We feel less at peace. We're tangled up. We've got energetic cords here, there, and everywhere. Some of them are healthy, some of them are not. And even if it may be that we have some kind of energetic entanglement with someone that we haven't seen in years, and they're far away or what have you, but that can still persist, and it drains our energy. It drains our energy. Or even if, on the other hand, if we're draining someone else's energy and we're basically unconsciously or energetically taking their power, we're actually disempowering ourselves. So there's a disempowerment both ways. When we try to give someone our energy, to try to fix something in a certain way, or maybe we're scared for them and we end up trying to control them or what have you, we are disempowering them because we are keeping them from discovering that they have the power within themselves to do whatever it is that they need to do. I'm not saying don't help people or support people, but it's about doing it within reason in such a way that you don't lose a part of yourself, or you don't lose a lot of your energy. You're not drained, that you're giving what's appropriate. That's another word that my shamanic healer uses. She's great. I love her. But use what's appropriate. You give what's appropriate, what's right for you and for them. Although you don't necessarily know what's right for them, but you know what's right for you, so you can honor that. And by the same token, if you're pulling someone's energy, if you're sucking, again, these are not necessarily happening consciously. This is not a criticism, but if you're unconsciously or energetically pulling on someone and pulling on their energy, you're also you're disempowering them because you're pulling their energy away, and then they're having to either fight with it or they're letting it get drained, but you're also disempowering yourself. Because when we take someone else's energy, it's a statement of, I don't actually have faith that I can do this alone, or I can feel good on my own, or that I can whatever, fill in the blank. When we feel the need to take energy from someone else, consciously or unconsciously, that's a statement. That's a lack of faith in ourselves, in our own abilities, in our own power to do whatever it is we need to do, be whatever we need to be, feel however we need to feel. And so either way, it is disempowering to you and to the other person. And is that really what you want to do? Do you really want to disempower that person, even from good intentions? Do you really want to send that message that you don't really believe they can do it for themselves, or that you have to do something for them, or whatever it is, and vice versa, that you need their energy, you need their power? It just ends us up in a tangled, energetic mess that at some point has to get disentangled. There are a lot of ways to do this, like my work, this literally like an inner defragmentation. It's basically what I'm doing in a lot of ways, is healing those parts, those fragments, those chunks that have been kind of separated because of traumas or fears or wounds or, etc. But also like other kinds of healing where it's about, literally you have to disconnect unhealthy connections. And that's what some energy modalities do. The version that I learned first was called pranic healing, and we disconnect unhealthy connections. You do it in an appropriate way. Or like in Reiki, I haven't learned how to do it in Reiki yet, but that's something you can do. In shamanic healing, that's something similar. If someone has taken a piece from you, then you're feeling, some kind of struggle there, or you've taken a piece from them. There's an incompleteness, there's a struggle, there's a disentanglement. So there are a lot of ways to disentangle our energies from others so that we can have all of our energy back and feeling whole and strong and at peace. There is nothing empowering ultimately about having your energy scattered anywhere. It needs to be here. It needs to be here so that you have it all at your disposal, if you will, that you can use. And so anyway, there are a lot of ways to do this, but I just want to leave you with a few questions to ask yourself when it comes to situations in your life, relationships, you have things like that. And one of the things that I tend to do is ask the question of what's mine versus what's theirs. So what's mine? It could be what's my responsibility versus what's their responsibility. What's my job versus what's their job. I don't necessarily mean like professional job. I mean, it could be that you have issues with coworkers. What's my job versus what's their job? And if you're doing someone else's job for them, then you might want to reconsider that. You might want to think, and you might want to look at why. What's really going on with me that I feel the need to do that for them? Okay, it's always about coming back to me, coming back to you. Why are you doing that? What's fueling that behavior? So what's mine versus what's there, versus what's theirs? What's in my control versus what's in their control, right? And that's a great way also of parsing, like, what can I control versus what can I not control? And what I can control, I will take care of. But if there's something I can't control, maybe it's how that person's showing up or how that person is behaving, or, this situation in the world or whatever. Can I control that? No. Well, then I need to bring my energy back here to what I can control and do the best I can with what I can control. Another question to ask is, do I feel energized or drained by this interaction, relationship, conversation, scenario, etc.? Do I feel energized by this, or do I feel drained? And there have been plenty of times where on the surface, I've thought, well, this seems like it would be energizing for me, but for some reason I'm feeling drained. I'm like, why do I feel drained by this person or this situation? It's probably like, what's going on? And I may not know, like intellectually, I may not be able to see exactly like what's draining me, but the reality is I'm feeling drained. And if I'm feeling drained, then I need to remove myself, or I need to disconnect, or I need to whatever I need to do. And again, it may not be that the other person may actually be pulling on you and may not be meaning to. That could be an old habit that they have, some unconscious, thing that's going on with them. It's not to shame or criticize anyone. But it is that, if you're feeling drained, you're feeling drained. And you need to honor that so that you can remove yourself, disconnect, whatever you've got to do to refresh and bring your energies back to you. But that's a really good one. Am I feeling energized by this or drained by this? And actually, come to think of it, you could even ask it, not that we know what's going on with other people, but you could even think of it that way too. Like, Are other people, do they seem energized by what I'm sharing, or do they seem kind of drained? Do they seem energized by what I have to offer? They seem kind of drained. I mean, you might even just be aware of that too, because it could be that maybe you're overdoing it or you're pulling on them or what have you. So, and always ask questions. Let's see, when I'm giving someone my time, attention, and energy, how might I also be giving them my power, giving away my power? So that's something to remember, that from the goodness of our hearts, or maybe from the fear in our hearts, we give our time, our energy, our attention, etc., onto others. This is so very common of us, especially those of us healers and helpers, right? But actually, sometimes you got to really look at your own motivation there. And also what's happening, what's the results of that. So in terms of the, our own motivation, sometimes it could be that we're unconsciously actually trying to control the situation. We don't even realize it. Or we're trying to control that person and their behaviors. We don't even realize it. Or we're trying to control our own anxiety because we're afraid that if they act this way or this thing's happen that way, we're going to freak out. And so we're just trying to take care of our own feelings. And that's something to be aware of too. But you also might look at the result. Am I giving away my power? Am I actually disempowering myself by doing this? So that's something to be aware of. Is my helping, supporting, etc., preventing them from learning how to do it themselves? Is it actually disempowering them? That's something we talked about a minute ago, to think about how that might be happening. How might I be taking energy from them? So how might my behaviors be actually pulling on them? Because, and again, you've got to ask yourself, what's going on? What's fueling this? If that feels like that might be what's happening, then you need to look at what's fueling it, what's motivating, what fears inside of you or insecurities or etc. are causing that energetic entanglement. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the rest of my questions. And then some of them, are my thoughts, feelings based on fear? And are my actions actually a form of me trying to control? And I just think this is another good one, because again, on the surface, like in terms of, in our, consciously we think, oh, but I'm trying to help that person. It's like, but you always got to question, I think, you always got to question your real motivations and get to the core of anything that might be fueling your behaviors that really aren't healthy for you or the other person, or that are based on fear and not on a sense of faith in their power and your power, in the divine universe source plan of what's actually might be happening in the situation that we need to allow to happen. So I know this is like heady stuff. It's a lot of stuff to consider, and but I do hope it's helpful, because it is extremely important that we have our own energies within us, not tangled up. That is the stuff that can really mess us up and create a lot of confusion and chaos inside, and then create more struggle and more pain and more inner work we got to do to heal it. So that's all by way of saying, I really hope that this makes a difference in your life. As always, check us out, changelight.world, and I will see you next week.